We are going to do a little sort of closing bit that I call the firing line, and this doesn't actually have anything to do with Davey and Dynamite, but it's a bit of a quick fire thing. I'm going to give you some names. You just tell me what you think about them quickly. If there's a very quick story to add with them, please give it me. And the first name is Abdullah the Butcher.
Abdullah the Butcher, King of Mayhem. He was a master of gimmicks and hardcore wrestling, and he was a big draw because he not only convinced fans but wrestlers, of his unpredictability in the ring, and had a great career.
Next one is, and I don't know how many people know that Don Muraco was in Stampede for a brief period because he came in with the Bulldogs, so he left around the same time, and he had a brief run there. But Don Muraco.
Don, a big man who could work very well. A good worker, very laid back and easygoing in the ring. I think had success in many promotions because he was a good all-around worker, and for a bigger man, was quite agile and adept to working with different guys.
Honky Tonk Man, Wayne Ferris.
Very colorful, great interview. Obviously duplicated the Elvis persona or look-alike very well. And that's what got him over as much as his work in the ring.
With Honky, I find it so funny that he was such a great bad guy, and then WWF looks at him and goes, well, there's the next top babyface friend of Hulk Hogan, and it just didn't work at all. He's just a natural, hateable guy in the best way.
Yeah, it's interesting because when we first came to Stampede, we brought him in as a babyface, as a tag team with David Schultz, and I think people just sort of saw through, his Southern rhetoric, as someone who's artificial, as we're insincere, and maybe just a bad copy of a Elvis or Jerry Lee Lewis persona, and that's what seemed to make fans hate him naturally, and he always got over better as a heel for that.
Next one's Archie Gouldie.
Archie Gouldie, one of the most intense heels in the business. When he wrestled as Archie Gouldie, he did his own interviews, never really needed a manager. Everywhere else, he was the Mongolian Stomper who had a manager. But it was just one of the best secrets in the business when he worked for Stampede, because his intensity and his interviews were just revolutionary. They were so convincing. Fans believed him, and he was just a very methodical heel that was intense in the ring, and a great all-around worker who had success in so many different territories. But in Calgary, he was always Archie Gouldie. Everywhere else, he was the Mongolian Stomper.
Mm-hmm. Nick Bockwinkel.
Nick, very classy, great performer in the ring. A great heel because he was arrogant and egotistical, but a great wrestling heel in the ring, and had a lot of longevity. He could go very long distances, and consistently had great matches with anybody he worked with.
The Cobra.
George Takano,
yeah.
A great high flyer. He was part of the Japanese era that followed Fujinami and Tiger Mask and some of them. He was basically the successor to Tiger Mask after Sayama had quit the New Japan promotion, but very innovative, high flyer. Outside the ring, very quiet, kept to himself. A great performer in the ring, and had some incredible matches with Dynamite and Davey Boy.
The superstar, Billy Graham.
Billy Graham, he first broke in with Stampede in 1970. So a great talker. He had a great look in the ring. His work wasn't so much to be impressed with, but he had a lot of style and charisma, and that's what got him over. Outside the ring, very shady. involved in some pretty, pretty shifty business deals, and someone you couldn't really trust. But when he made it to the big time, obviously he had the look. He had the great physique and a lot of style and charisma and great interview skills. Not so much in-ring ability.
Didn't he give your dad a television once as a thank you, but it wasn't his to give?
Yeah, it was a television he had taken, I think, from a hotel or something. That's the story I'd heard. And he gave that to my dad as a gift. Yeah, my dad saw the tag on the back of it. It said it was from a hotel in California or something. But yeah, so
well, made quite the trip to get to Calgary. Then I'll give you a few more, and then I will thank you so much for your time. Sky Low Low.
Boy, one of the most classic midgets of all time. But Sky Low Low is part of the elite group of midgets, that kind of launched that industry. When you think of him and Little Beaver, just great performers in the ring, but great characters that fans could really love and watch wrestling. So he wasn't afraid to be a midget or a small man in the ring, but legitimately, he was a tough guy. He could actually be a shooter and a good enforcer, but very lovable and entertaining to watch.
And I do a compilation series sometimes, and I've got a huge amount of stories about this man, but we always want more, is Andre the Giant.
Andre, a unique talent. What can you say? Just incredibly agile for his size. We could work with so many different wrestlers, and a unique attraction on so many levels. Stood out as different from all the other big men because he could actually wrestle long distances and do a lot of great spots, until he got heavier and overcome with injuries. Outside the ring, pretty moody. He was very testy about doing autograph sessions or meet and greet sections. So I think he was very conscious of his size and didn't like being exploited and being shown to the public. So that kind of made him hard to do business with. And if he liked you, that was great. If he didn't like you, he could make things very uncomfortable for you.
I know. Have you got any stories of somebody who he may have made uncomfortable in the ring, who he was wrestling, who maybe he wasn't a big fan of?
Not so much in Calgary. I'd heard just different stories about him with Bam Bam Bigelow and John Studd and even Randy Savage, guys that he didn't like genuinely, and he just didn't sell for them and was stiff as hell with them. But usually he never had those problems in Calgary. And, Andre was such a big guy, you didn't take liberties with him. I know there was some friction with him and Bad News Allen. I think it was kind of over a racist situation where Bad News had felt Andre was disrespectful to him and took that as a racial insult. And Allen's version of it was that he challenged Andre to a fight on the bus while they were touring for New Japan, and Andre kind of backed down or avoided it. I'm not sure how accurate or true that was, So that was, not so much in-ring clash, but really just personality clash, maybe over race and personality as well. But most guys never wanted to take liberties with Andre, because he could step all over you, he could physically hurt you, he could embarrass you, and he also had a lot of power and influence. If he didn't like you, he could stop you from getting booked in territories, and his word counted for a lot. He had a lot of influence over promoters, and if he basically said, "I don't want this guy on my tours," or to be around him, those promoters wouldn't use those guys. So he was someone you best be very respectful and bow down to and get along with. Otherwise, he could make your life very uncomfortable.
Now with Bad News, now this is right at the back of my head, but did Bad News have a gun with him at this point? Was this the gun incident on a bus, or am I conflating stories here.
I don't think there's any incident about a gun, but Alan, though, supposedly got up and challenged Andre to a fight, and I think the bus had all the foreigners there that were on this tour. So I'm not sure if this was maybe 1980 or something, but so I'm not sure what initially led to that, but Alan felt Andre was being racist toward Afro-Americans and called Andre on it. And I think Andre declined the challenge. I'm not saying Andre necessarily backed down or was afraid of Alan, but maybe didn't want to make a spectacle of their tension, and he basically just turned away from the challenge. And I think they eventually reconciled at a hotel or something, and each one kind of made some concessions to the other. I think Alan had to be somewhat respectful of Andre because he was a big draw in Japan and called his own shots there. And I don't think Inoki or their office would have approved of him, having a fist fight with Alan and a physical confrontation with him. Andre had to maybe acquiesce and be a little more respectful of blacks and minorities, but I'd never ever heard anyone accuse Andre of being a racist before. He maybe took advantage of guys he didn't like or respected, but I'd never heard that he was disrespectful of minorities or blacks, so I think it was maybe a misunderstanding between the two. And fortunately, it never came to that point where they came to physical blows.
You would have probably been too young as well at the time, so you may not have been in the bars with Andre. But did you ever find him passed out drunk somewhere after he'd imbibed one too many?
Not too many, but I remember he could drink a lot. I remember we drove from Edmonton to Calgary. It was about a 3-hour drive, and he was in the back seat, and I think my dad was driving, and he went through about 3 cases of beer. He would just drink one, and a few swigs, and he was done and chucked the bottle out the window. So, that was, in the late 70s. I think he had a little more energy. I think years later, though, as he got older and he gained more weight, it was harder for him to handle that many drinks. But in his younger days, he could go many hours on road trips or a plane flight and drink as much as he wanted, and still had quite a high energy level. But obviously that waned as he got older and heavier, and obviously had some health issues with his growth size. Yeah.